need to know everything. Who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me.
Hey, hey, welcome to the final season episode of State of the Pels. I'm here with Miles Boudreau. I am Chrissy Smith. And unfortunately, we are getting things kicked off with four straight losses. So, not the way we wanted to kick off this episode. No, we did not. Let's just jump into it. Overall, Pelicans, first round of the playoffs, playing the number one seed, and we got swept. And we lost the last two games at home. So, not a great feeling. Miles, tell me what your thoughts were on that.
Oh man, honestly, and I went to the games. Felt like everybody was there for the 50% off concessions more than to watch the basketball game. So
Dang.
that was something. But yeah, to get to the on-court stuff, it was exhausting. I think you hear the saying, "I'm just tired of being tired," and that's what it feels like to be a Pelicans fan, as to be a New Orleans fan in general. But right now, to be a Pelicans fan, we're just exhausted with losing. We're exhausted with excuses. We're exhausted with injuries, and we wanna not be the laughing stock of the league. So it's been brutal, but honestly, I feel like the future is bright. This might be that that awful wave or storm that comes through and tears everything up. But sort of like what New Orleans is, we're resilient and we come back from bad mistakes or mishaps, whatever it may be, and we get to a brighter future. So hopefully that's what we're looking forward to next season.
Yeah, I thought the 50% off concept was brilliant because I think even the Pelicans organization was like, we've got to generate some excitement too. Because, I mean, coming home, we were down
Yeah,
0-2, and I mean, we played well in the first game. We needed that first game. Losing by two was absolutely brutal. But then after that, it was just all so far downhill. And I think what you're saying
yeah,
is true. We're tired of excuses. I think that we're tired of being so close to that next
yeah,
level. We're there. We feel like we have a lot of the pieces, and you just come up so short this year in the end, and not even getting to see Zion in the playoffs. I mean, that was heartbreaking. That could have changed everything. So it's like, what do we need? And that kind of goes really into the next piece is, what do the Pelicans need? Like, what are we missing? I mean, I know we were talking about some stats before this, but talk about what you were saying. It's really kind of mind blowing, this stat. Go ahead and let the people know.
oh yeah. Um, so I was just looking at some of the stats, and something that stood out was that we're the bottom of the league in turnovers. We generate way too many
Mm.
turnovers on average, and that's a stat that definitely combats winning on the road. Because a lot of people like to bring up, well, look, we had a great road record this year, and that is good. But also, things like turnovers are things that translate in the playoffs too. Not because a lot of times there's the discussion. Oh, if you can win on the road, you can be great in the playoffs. And we won the best in the league on the road, and we weren't good in the playoffs. Now, granted, we didn't have Zion. Brandon was coming off an injury, but you would like to see that defensive prowess um, shine in times like this, and it really didn't. A lot of times they were out of position, and like I constantly say, the turnovers were there, and this was something that translated into the playoffs. Bad handoffs, just miscommunication. It was hard to watch the team not be together. Physically, just the way they were moving and the facial expressions, but also, mentally, they just looked distraught. They didn't look like they, were together, unless they were in practice for some reason. They looked like they were having a ball in practice, but on the court, they look like they might be enemies a little bit, and I was that was a bit of confusion and concern for me.
Yeah, to the turnover point too, I always associate a really good point guard with a key in not having a lot of turnovers. And that's been
Yeah,
a discussion, kind of all year long. Like, are we going to have the quote unquote traditional point guard? And so many teams have gone away from that. I mean, we don't have what I would consider a traditional point guard. I mean, we had Zion playing point guard half the season. So talk about,
yeah,
untraditional. But we do have some good wing players. Like CJ to me is really a two, and I could see him being a great two. So is it that point guard, that piece that we're missing? Is that the key? Is it, like everyone also brings up, the center position? Is it we need someone other than Jonas in there? Um, and I wish I could say, oh, I have the answers, but I 100% don't. But I do see those two areas being cause for concern. But number one in turnovers, you will never ever win a championship doing that. You will never make a deep run in the playoffs turning the ball over. And you're right, in the playoffs this season, I could just some of the handoffs. I'm like, what are we even doing out there? And I don't
yeah.
think that it was because the moment was too big for us. I don't feel like that was it. It was just so sloppy. I'm like, who's going to step up and kind of take accountability for what's happening out here? So that was surprising, like you said, that we led the league in turnovers, and then leading our team in turnovers was Ingram this year. And there's a lot of discussion around him and what is going to happen with him next year. So I was surprised to hear that it was Ingram that led our team in turnovers, although I guess not
Well,
shocking.
he and I just want to make it known that he didn't lead the team in turnovers, but he was at the top of the team in turnovers with Zion Williamson, which makes sense. Zion isn't a dominant ball handler, and he held the ball a lot. And teams know, hey, if you pressure him before he runs over you, you might get the ball back without
Right.
him scoring on you. So that I think that's what that was. And a lot of times people say, well, Zion was a point guard when he was younger. Well, that was against younger kids. This is not NBA kids. So, yeah,
Yes.
maybe he did have a little history in being a point guard, but he has no history in being a dominant professional NBA point guard. So those are two different things. And also, I would like to say that we didn't lead the league in turnovers, but it felt like it. We're definitely
Oh,
at the top. We're definitely at the top of the list in turnovers generated. But yeah, and you talk about a traditional guard to make this team flow a little better. And my only pushback is it's very hard to get a traditional guard that checks all the boxes that teams need nowadays. But granted, this the future of the league. It seems these guys in college, they are doing it all. But you also,
mhm,
there's a lot of other things this organization is looking for. They're very big on fit when it comes to locker room and character and
mhm.
things of that nature. And I'm all for that as well. But I don't know how easy it is to find somebody that's going to be a locker room guy and also be that perfect point guard fit. I'm not sure if that's easy, hard. I don't know the guys coming up in the
Right.
draft, but I will say it would be a blessing to this team to get a guard that is not going to turn the ball over, communicate, uh, 1 through 15. Everybody on the team respects
Mhm.
them. The coaches respect them, and just for somebody to be on that floor that has the autonomy to make the smarter decision, because sometimes, hey, coaches make mistakes. They're humans too. Sometimes the coach just doesn't make the best call. So, do we have somebody on the court that can say, "Hey, guys, this is what we need to do right here, right now," and the guys trust them.
Right.
That's huge because you don't see that with CJ McCollum all the time. A lot of times when he's probably doing something on the court is for himself, and that's not a diss to him. His style of play is let me go get a bucket for my guys. That's who he is, and I don't think we should
Mhm.
knock him for that. Also, this team needs a guy that is that just knows how to make the right pass, throw the alley to Zion, throw the bounce pass on on the fast break to somebody that's going back door. These little things that can really impact the game and get the crowd into it, because people like nice passes just as much as they like a nice 3-pointer or a nice dunk. And this team
Yep.
is definitely lacking great
Yeah.
passing.
Yeah, I will rewind a play when I see a great pass just as quick as I will some crazy dunk. Like it's beautiful. If you love the game, like that is gonna be just as amazing to you. So, I think that you make a lot of good points with that. Two, I kind of would like to see someone a little spicy come in. Like I know they want a locker room guy and I think that's great, but can we get someone who might get in your face a little bit when, you're not playing 100%, you're not giving 100%. I'm not afraid of that. I think that's good. And I unless it's behind closed doors, haven't seen that at all. I could see Jonas maybe being that guy a little bit. That's about it.
No, not Mr. Professional. He's definitely not doing that behind closed doors.
He is Mr. Professional, and I wonder if
Yeah,
he'll be back this year. I mean, we didn't move him at the trade deadline. It's a big question mark because and there were teams that we played that he matched up against great and he dominated and that was fun, but when you get to the point where you're only playing your center, 13, 15 minutes, that's not
yeah.
typically someone it says a lot. Like if you're not playing them much, then it's saying that you're not liking the match with him anymore. So I'm curious to see what we do that. I know Griff said in his end of the season presser, like this isn't a summer to be complacent. I hope he's not just saying that, like it's not just words
Yeah.
because it stings that the season's over. But like, let me ask you, if we were to go get one or two players, who would you want us to get, even in a trade or pick up? Like, what would you want to see?
Well, just real quick to say something about JV, and this might not happen. It might be more probable that it doesn't happen. But I would absolutely love him to be like a Al Horford for this team. Somebody that's on a team friendly contract, a vet big man
Mhm.
that sort of knows the game, and getting a young big guy that moves the floor a little bit. This draft. I hear a lot of times that people say it's weak. I do not think this draft is weak. I think it is definitely not getting the respect it deserves. I think this class has a lot of just pure talent that just needs to be honed because it's a very young draft. Um, but
Mhm.
my two guys in the draft, I would say, is Klingon and Zach Edey. I think their floors are still very good, and their ceilings are absolutely game changing. Klingon coming from UConn, phenomenal organization, phenomenal coaching. He moves, he can shoot the three a little bit.
Mhm.
National champion like Jordan Hawkins, and Jordan Hawkins can have that continuity with him. And Zach Edey, he has the potential to just to be a complete offensive juggernaut, a big lob
Mhm.
threat. I know he doesn't like get up the dunks, but he's 7'4". Just throw it up like Zubac. He'll go get it and dunk it. He's ferocious. That's the type of guy I want as a
Mhm.
big man. Somebody that's just ferocious, doesn't care about the opponent. So those are my two biggest uh, when it comes to the center position. Now guard, and I know a lot of people might not be talking about this, but there's a kid from Marquette. He is absolutely phenomenal. I know he got in a little trouble when it comes to academics, but honestly, when I see him play, you're talking about a good passer, somebody that has pace on the floor. And forgive me for not remembering his name, but just look up the Marquette guard in the NCAA March Madness, and you'll find it immediately. He's a phenomenal basketball player. And other than that, I think if you don't get a great guard in the draft, you go after somebody that's in trade talks this offseason, maybe a free agent. I'm not. I see a lot of not Trey Murphy, Trey Young. I see a lot of Dejounte Murray conversations. Are
No.
Yeah, those two guys mainly, but I don't see it happening at all. I think
Mm-mm.
they're gonna want a lot of money. I don't think this team is willing to spend that much money. Um, so yeah, I don't know where the team is going to go guard wise, but I definitely think this team is going to go get a big man. I almost 100% certain that we will be seeing a new big man in New Orleans next year. Not sure if it's going to be a big trade or a draft. I personally would like a draft because you can get him on a rookie contract. You can grow him. Um, and this team has the talent to mold young men into great players. You if you watch Zion Williamson, if you watch um, and I'm saying this like I know who's going to be on, but if you watch Zion and Herb, that's a lot to learn from right there in itself. If you watch Jordan Hawkins, that's a lot to learn from. Somebody that's just running off ball. This team has some players that you can learn from, and I think the coaching staff gets a lot of criticism, rightly so sometimes. But this coaching staff has great scouts, great player development players, Corey Brewer. So yeah, I'm excited to see who they get.
Well, and when you look at Zion, Herb, and Trey and how much they've developed over the last few years, they have leaps and bounds. I mean, and they've only been in the league, 3, 4 years. So when you talk about getting someone that's young but is moldable, we clearly have a coaching staff that is good at doing that. And yeah, every coaching staff's going to, get criticism, and like you said, rightfully so. But nobody's perfect. So what are we doing right? And we're definitely developing these guys into really, really strong players. Guys that are not just like, oh, this is a good threat off the bench. Like these are legit starters in the NBA. I mean,
Yeah,
regardless of what happened in the season, it's the Western Conference and we made the playoffs. So, and we did it with a bunch of young guys. Um, and then you've got your couple of veterans. And so I see like with CJ and Jonas, like you're saying, if we have them around to help nurture and grow some of these young guys. Like if we draft, like I love Edie. I think he's really a special player. He's obviously challenging to guard. He's got good hands for being such a big man. We haven't had any like centers that are like, oh, they jump through the roof anyway. So I think that would be fine to have someone like that come into that role. But I think they could learn so much from who we already have there. I mean, even Hawkins came in, and yeah, his defense wasn't quite there, but I mean, he came in ready to shoot and be an offensive player in the NBA. So I think we do have good scouts that are able to find these guys that are, very close to starting to dominate where they're at. And I just hope that next year we have another season of mostly healthy players, the whole way through, like even the postseason. Watching a healthy Zion this year was like, that was some elite basketball and amazing to see him finally be able to perform on that level. That was exciting to see. And that's why it crushed me that he didn't get to show that in the postseason, because that's what you're playing for the whole year. I mean, yeah, your regular season stats, they're cool and all, but the postseason is where you want to show out and put all that hard work, really into play. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to look forward to and with this team. So I'm excited about it, despite how it did end for us.
no, definitely. And I tell you one thing, Zion might be playing in the playoffs if he didn't have to take um, a large chunk of that immediate ball handler role. Now, I know we all love Point Zion, but he has a history of getting hurt, and exhausting your legs isn't going to help. Now, he definitely has to take the right precautions. This offseason is going to be huge for him. But having a guard that can take a little bit of that brute of the season, that definitely would help him out. Somebody that he could just jog up the court couple times. Not saying that I want him to be jogging all the time, but somebody to just take away, somebody pressing him all the time. And the biggest thing for
Mhm.
me is this coaching staff and this organization. This has to be a top to bottom thing. Um, Putting the league on notice that and I don't like to say in totality, hey, it's the league's fault. There's a lot of nuance and complex factors, but they've got to be on the league and say, hey, y'all are killing our
Mhm.
guy. Willie Green has to scream a little bit louder or with a little bit more meaning. And if you get fined, if you get kicked out of the game, so be it. That's why it's next man up mentality. That should be the same on the
Right.
coaching staff. I will probably be just okay if Willie Green takes a seat for one game. We saw it with the James Borrego game. So I just like to see
Right.
a little bit more, immediate action when Zion is getting just destroyed. And
Mhm.
also like I said, having a guard to help him out would definitely do him justice. But yeah, Zion was great this year. Just phenomenal. It was a real we seen him grow as a man. He had a child. I think people forget about that. He was going through so much torture online. They were saying this the worst obscurities about him. And this young man took that all in, you know, taking care of his family, trying to take care of himself and his team, and he did it. He came back, put 40 and
Mhm.
11 on Bron and the Lakers, did hurt himself, but I think he left knowing I left it out there and I really willed myself to this point. Out of that darkness, I got to the light. He lost the weight, he looked like he got even stronger, which doesn't even make sense to me. I can't
I know.
calculate that properly because he still jumped so high. We saw the
Yep.
midi. That's something that needs to be
Yes,
talked about more. He took a three. Um, I don't remember if he made it, but he did take a three, and
he did.
he's a two-way player now. So we might be on the verge of seeing Zion get to the beginning of his prime because I believe he's what just turned 24 or
Right.
23.
Yeah.
So this is still a young guy. Um, and he's still growing and learning. So I'm just so excited to see the next chapter of that growth. And hopefully this organization builds something that pushes us forward and it helps Zion get us through that threshold that we keep falling upon. We keep getting
Mhm.
to this point, and then we're just like, oh, can't get past it. So hopefully,
Yep.
they do everything they have to do.
Yeah, I think that we're close. Like we keep saying, we're so close. I think we felt like we were close, and then Zion was hurt, and it was like, oh man. But then this year, we really could feel it because he was healthy.
Yeah,
But I was going to mention that mid-range shot that he finally started taking, and he said at the end of the season that it was his teammates that kept telling him, "Dude, take the shot. It looks good. Like it looks good." And he said finally he was like, "All right, I'm going to start doing it." I have to believe that that's going to carry into next season. When he starts shooting that jumper and knocking that down, that they cannot stay up on him the way that they have because he's been, hey, I'm driving to the lane every time. That's what I'm doing. It was still hard to stop knowing exactly what he was going to do.
yeah,
But when he adds in that piece and they're not sure if he's going to pull that jumper on him or not, oh, it's going to be ridiculous. And hopefully, then the league, if they haven't already, been put on notice, they're going to go, okay, this is such an elite player. We've got to
yeah,
help protect him. That's all that it is. It's just let's help protect these big time players. And for some reason, the league picks and chooses who they're going to do that to. It is frustrating. It is inconsistent. It is something where you want to see Willie Green yell and scream and say a couple, foul words and get thrown out of the game for because it does need to
yeah,
change. And, you see other guys, they get every whistle under the sun. Whether they flop or not doesn't matter. That all they got to do is throw that head back and they're calling a foul. So that's got to change because we need Zion. The league needs Zion to be healthy and playing. He's just good for the sport overall. So, um, yeah, I mean, I can see some of those changes happening next year for sure.
yeah. It's something that definitely needs to happen. And like you said, when Zion gets that pull up, it's gonna be going crazy in the blender. It's sort of like if you're in the dome and the Saints run a perfect play action. You thought it was a run, no pass,
Mhm.
and that pass is going straight to the rim, and it's a bucket. And it makes every. I think people jump out their seats more when they see a Zion mini more than a Zion dunk at this point because it's just
I
so
know.
rare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's rare and it's pretty, and we want to
it
see
is.
more of it. So, Zion, listen, okay, we all got you. We got your back.
Listen to Chrissy.
We know you can do it. Shoot that mini more. We want to see it. We need it. Well, I think we're getting close to wrapping up. So, any closing thoughts on the season? I think we've touched on a lot of good points today, but closing thoughts, I'll let you go ahead and kick that part off.
Yeah. For me, I just think we see the fan civil war going on online. Like, we're seeing a lot of the crazy off-season theories and conspiracies and discussions. Uh, and I just want to
Mhm.
say, before we critique, we have to find a balance and appreciating what we were in because I remember during the season on a multitude of occasions everyone screaming and chanting, just so proud of the team that they also love. And how quick that love turns into hate is beyond me. But I know for myself that I appreciate what this with these group of young men and grown vets did for this organization and for this city. We've seen a lot of just hard times in the beginning of the season, losing to the Lakers, and they really fought back after that and gave us something. They gave us a product that we can appreciate in a real way. And even I know the season ended very tough. Um, there's still we have answers, and it might not be as many as you want, but I remember, years back when we didn't have answers because we just didn't know. We didn't have the sample size. And now I could just appreciate, hey, we've got sample size. We've got some answers. We know the direction of Z. We know that his head is in the game. Willie just getting another year under his belt. Um, that continuity. I know people hate hearing about continuity in New Orleans because it seems to bring the same product, but it hasn't. You can't deny the facts that are in front of us face. We did better, and and it might seem long, but sometimes the long road is the better road. And I think that we're on the right pace to being a team that can fight in this tough Western Conference. I'm not saying that we're going to guarantee be, just at the top, but if Zion's on my team, I'm taking him over anybody. So as long as we got
Mm.
Zion hurt, I'm pretty good. And as and I know we got them next year, so I'm excited. So I don't think we should be holding our heads for anything. I think we should keep our heads up and just keep on moving, keep on supporting. And to the players of the team, I'm proud of them. And it's time to get to work. You know what I'm saying? No vacay. Just get straight to it.
No Galveston. You don't think that they should take their little trip to Galveston in the off season? Charles Barkley got some.
No, don't go to Calvin's. Do not do that. Don't do that.
No, no,
Making too much money to do that. Don't do that.
no. Yeah. Well, I
Actually,
would
they're
say
playing.
I would. That's right. Yeah. um, I would say I would rather us build a winning season this way than go out and buy a bunch of players and suddenly, have like one the anticipation building is pretty amazing. So, and let's not forget, like we did turn the corner this season, like you said, after the play-in game, and we fought really, really hard. I mean, we won a lot of games. You got to think about that. There's only 82
Yeah,
games. We won 49. So that to me, it's a successful season. I did not think probably that we were going to win an NBA championship this year. So when you're looking at metrics, I would say, hey, we did make the playoffs. We got to get out of that play-in game next year. That's the goal. Number one is the goal: get out of the play-in game. Let's just get us a series and get to rest up a little bit before then. But yeah, I'm proud of the guys too. I saw them go through a lot of adversity and power through. Definitely seeing Z grow up, is what it feels like. He just really, kind of took that next step forward. So I'm excited, and I also want to say that this was my first full year doing the working with the know and getting to do the podcast and write every takeaway story. And I've gotten to meet really great basketball minds like you, Miles, and Everett, and talk to, Jacob, and had different people on, Patty, Dave. And it's made the season even more fun. And sometimes it's good and therapeutic to just talk through the problems and hop on the
yeah,
pod and do that. So really
definitely. It's been a
appreciate
pleasure. I
everyone's
can't wait.
engagement this year. And I think next year, yeah, I think next year is going to be just as fun, and we'll definitely do some pods, checking in when moves happen or things go on for sure. But I'm excited about what is to come for next year, and I definitely think we've got even better things to look forward to.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is gonna be a crazy off season, like Griff said. he might not have said it verbatim, but he basically just said it's going to be pretty fascinating off season. Can't wait to talk about the draft. I'll be definitely doing some updates myself. But definitely been a pleasure starting working with the No, finishing the season out with you. You've been great, and I'm just excited to um, have this build up going into next year.
Mhm.
Doing these conversations with everybody, I've definitely met a lot of intelligent and people with just great relationships and great basketball minds, like you said. So it's been great.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, you guys. We will be back later on this summer with some updates after the draft and all, but we appreciate all of you. Have a great rest of the week and go Pelicans.
Go Pels, know that.